Here they all come, look. Hello, people.
Hello.
Lovely to see you. Abby, I see that you're here. I haven't seen you for ages.
Hello.
There she is.
Hello. Lovely to see you.
Oh, I've got a bit of an
Background. Yeah. If everyone could put themselves on mute, that would be brilliant.
How's it now? Are we still echoing? No. Yes.
No.
Oh, yes, we are.
Hang on, I'll mute them. There we go.
Hi,
So that's better. Rebecca, I'm just going to mute you because I think it's the echo from yours.
Ah, that's better. The echo has subsided. Lovely. Well, it's great to see you all. If you could put your cameras on, I much prefer it because then I can see your faces and we can get a little bit of interaction going on, which is great. Obviously, if you can't, for whatever reason, then that's completely understandable, but it is really nice to see your faces. We're not going to be a huge group today either, so the interaction is going to be really quite important to get the most out of the workshop.
I think if you want to begin, Laura, and I'll just let people in if they join gradually.
Yeah. All right, brilliant. Well, it's lovely to see you all. Some of you I may know, and you may know me. Irene's here. Irene's a regular at our workshops. Lovely to see you, Irene. Okay, so today, as planned, we are going to be looking at how can you provide CST essentially in your area. So I'm going to start just by talking about the pandemic and how that's kind of hit everybody really hard, but particularly for people living with dementia. And I don't know if you know, but actually people with dementia have been the hardest hit through the pandemic. And there's more people living with dementia that have died. And symptoms have worsened much quicker. Their dementia symptoms, not the COVID symptoms, but dementia symptoms have deteriorated far quicker because of being isolated. So Josie, do you have your hand up because you want to say something, or have you just accidentally put your hand up?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
I can't get my video to work for whatever reason.
Ah, okay.
That's okay. I can ask you to start it if you like.
Yeah,
then you should just be able to accept that one.
Yeah, start my video. That's it. Okay, I think.
Oh,
No,
nice.
I've asked it to start, but it's still got a cross on it, so I presume you haven't got my video.
No, I'll just ask you again. Give me a second.
I keep pressing it, but
no, not liking it today.
No.
Never mind. We know you're here.
Yeah,
I'll take
my hand down. I'll take my hand down and lower hand.
Perfect.
That's great. Okay, so I was talking about the pandemic and the fact that 46% of people with dementia reported that lockdowns had a really negative impact on them, and that's really not surprising, is it? The fact that this last 2 years has been difficult for everybody, but particularly for people living with dementia, and actually how isolation can have such an effect on people living with dementia, more so than others. And we know that isolation is pretty bad for all of us. It's something like the equivalent of smoking 60 cigarettes a day, isn't it? The health implications of isolation. So it's big stuff. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and I think it might be nice in the chat if we could have a bit of interaction. Seems I can't see most of you. I'm going to have to rely on some chatting going on. So I'd really like to know sort of what area that you're. Hello, Amy. Someone else popped in. Lovely. What area that you're working in. So are you working in? Maybe tell us who you work for, or whether you work for yourself, and whether you work for domiciliary care or whether you work in a care organisation, in a care home. I'd really like to know sort of who we've got in the room. So if you can just pop that in the chat, that'd be great. And I'll wait for that to come in. So it's interesting to find out that 60% of people receiving home care have dementia. 60%. So while I'm waiting for you to type, I don't know what to do. I could do a little tap dance. Is everyone typing away? Yes. Abby works for Age UK Lancashire and lead on the CST project. Yes, so what I'm going to talk about today, Abby, is a lot about CST, and you might already know it all, but I might get you to come in and do some presenting. Fantastic. Where else is everyone? Helper in a memory cafe. Brilliant. So you're a retired nurse. Fantastic. That's really good to know where you're from. Anybody working in domiciliary care or in sort of a care environment? Anybody? Rebecca, I work at Atlas. Yeah, so you do home visits. Anna says she can't use her video. That's okay. An archive, how do you say that? Archivist, an archivist. You might have to help me, Anna. An arts heritage professional now starting a new career in care. What a fantastic, they marry together beautifully, don't they? Will be a wellbeing and activities assistant at a care home in Norfolk. They seem very excited about my ideas. I'm not surprised. I bet we've been doing some work with the museum in Cornwall, and it marries together beautifully with cognitive stimulation therapy. So that sounds really exciting. No wonder they're excited. Great. Okay, so I'm not getting much. I'll volunteer, compassionate neighbour for my local hospice. Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, well, I shall wait for more comments to come in, and let me know in the meantime where you all work and what you all do. So another outreach for Atlas, dementia and respite, visiting clients in their home. Brilliant. We know Atlas well, fantastic organisation. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit about cognitive stimulation therapy. So I guess again, it would be really nice to know if you do know about CST. Are you new to this entirely? So I guess either comment new or not new, and that will help me know how much you know about cognitive stimulation therapy. I know we deliberately, when we did this workshop, we didn't mention CST in the title. We just talked about dementia treatment, which CST, of course, is one. So Anna already has been on the workshop. Excellent, thanks. That's very nice feedback. Thank you. Amy's new, brilliant. I always like to hear when there's new people who've never heard of it and don't know what it is, because hopefully I will enlighten you today and get you so excited that you'll want to do it. I've got a not new there. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully those of you that are not new will still reap some benefits from coming along, and those of you that are new hopefully will leave you feeling very excited about the potential of what about the potential. Okay, so let's have a look. So we know that, as I said, that people with dementia are much more isolated because of COVID, and this is why it's even more important now that we find ways that we can engage people living with dementia and help with cognition and quality of life, which is the thing that CST does. Part of some of the things that CST does. So we tend to leave this stuff to the NHS, or we have left this stuff in the past to the NHS, because it feels like it sits there. It's a treatment program after all. But actually what we know with CST is it can fit really beautifully in statutory, non-statutory services. So places like Abby's from Age UK, so the Age UK are a great partner in providing CST. but so can lots of other people provide it too. So memory cafes, I know we've got someone from a memory cafe here. You might be a domiciliary care provider. You might be even a church or a pub. But, you know, the thing about it is it can actually sit anywhere. So, and that's not usually where you would look for treatment, is it? And it's really interesting how it can get very medicalized, and yet it doesn't need to be, because essentially CST is about having fun, but we do it in such a structured way that we get results, and we're able to say that coming along will help people feel better. So my name's Laura Walker. I'm co-founder of Memory Matters Southwest, and this is Shania as well, who's on the call, who's been sort of, there she is waving. Memory Matters is an organisation that was founded 11 years ago to support people living with dementia, and particularly to help people living with dementia to thrive, because we don't tend to hear those two words in a sentence, dementia and thrive. Very often we believe that a dementia diagnosis means only moving towards the end, and actually what we've been doing is helping people to really to thrive, to find out who they are right now, not necessarily who they were or who they're going to be, but who are they right now, and how do we engage with that person in front of us and make that a feeling of well-being. How do we create feelings of well-being? So that's what we do at Memory Matters, and I'm a real believer in good people and good things coming together and making things better. And I believe that we can do that as communities, that we can take an evidence base, and we can make it happen. So what happens a lot of the time is we have all this research that's done, and we know what's good for people, but it's not being done on the ground, because particularly at the moment there is literally no funding for that to happen. So we have to kind of pull up the reins as communities and look at how we can fill those gaps. And I really believe that this sort of work works beautifully in the communities if communities can work well together. So I'm quite passionate about it, and I run Memory Matters with my sister-in-law Kate, who's also a nurse and equally passionate about how we help people living with dementia to thrive. So I'm going to show you in this session sort of the methods really of what we do and how we do it. And I'd really like at the end of it you to go away hopefully infused and wanting to do it yourself, but also have an understanding of what CST is, the outcomes you can expect from it, and also what can you do. So I'd like you to go away with an idea about what you want to do with this information that you have and how you can use it in your community if you're not doing so already. I mean, I can see faces of people who already are doing those very things. So that's the direction of travel, and I hope that that sounds okay. Those of you whose faces I can see, if you can give me a thumbs up if that sounds all right. Yeah, that's good. I like this, because otherwise I feel like I'm on television. Brilliant. I even got a thumbs up from Anna, who I can't see, which is brilliant. Thank you very much. Brilliant. I'm just going to check the chat a minute. Oh, great. Melanie. So Melanie works on a ward for people with BPSD in Exeter. That's great. So brilliant. So that there may be ways that you can bring in cognitive stimulation therapy on your ward, which is brilliant. The other thing about CST is I'm going to tell you how it is and how we use it in groups, but of course it can be used on a one-to-one as well. The evidence base isn't so strong on a one-to-one, but that's not to say that we can't use what you're going to learn today in all of your interactions. I'm going to give you 3 main things really today that we use at Memory Matters that is different to how maybe other things are done. I don't mean CST, because you'll find everything, the 3 things within CST, but I think it makes a difference in when we're creating a group, that we do things slightly differently that get us slightly different results. And we're going to explore those a little bit today, depending on time. And I will keep my eye on time, and I know Shania will keep me to time as well. I often over promise on these sessions and try and slam so much in, but today what I've done is I'm doing a relaxed one, so that we might actually get to do a bit more talking and a bit more interaction, because that's how we learn after all. So I'm going to just share my screen. because I've got slides and everything. Okay, so can you see that, Shania?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, gone too fast. Okay, so cognitive stimulation therapy, CST, is such a mouthful, isn't it? You can see why people get put off by the term cognitive stimulation therapy. It sounds very medical. And yet it's this brilliant opportunity to thrive. It's all about having fun whilst putting our brains through the paces without us even realizing it. And I think that's the key thing, is that when we're providing CST, that people living with dementia won't even know that they're going through the whole process of using their brains and using those neural connections, because that's what we're trying to do, is keep the brain active for as long as possible, with the idea of the idea of the forest fire, if you like, and imagining that your neurons are little trees in a forest, and that the dementia, if you like, is a fire, and maybe we're running ahead of the fire and planting lots more trees so that the fire has longer to go before you notice the difference of having dementia. I mean, it's not the best of scenarios, but I hope it sort of gives you an understanding of, if we keep our brains active, the more brain cells that we have, the more brain cells we have to damage, if you like. So I wanted to start by telling you what the beneficiaries are saying about it. And these are our own beneficiaries who've said this. And here's some great quotes. I couldn't manage without it. Tuesdays, I really look forward to it. It gives me company, laughs, gets my mind going, and it's stimulating. When she comes out of the group, she is much happier. It keeps her going through the week emotionally. It's the most important thing for her general well-being. That was a comment from a carer. And I think Shania, if I stop sharing my screen, Shania's got a little video of another one of our beneficiaries, just letting you know what he thinks about it.
I came here and I found that my memory was somewhat better at the end of it. And if I missed a week, it really put me back. I find that by making my brain work, I can carry on a reasonable life. And that's everything to me.
Did everybody get that? Because it was a little bit wiggly, but did you get the idea? It might have been me that was wiggly. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen again. So here's the bit about what's different. What's different about CST? Obviously, in an hour, I can't go over exactly the ins and outs of CST, but I can sort of pick the headlines of what's different about providing cognitive stimulation therapy and any other dementia group. And I picked out these three things that I think really are the foundations of what's different. And the first one is implicit learning. So this is the idea that we're not sitting there or standing there as a teacher, but we are sitting beside. We always sit beside the person with dementia and discover with them. So just like a teacher would probably prepare this this session and then would present it, much like I'm doing to you today. I've prepared this workshop and now I'm presenting it to you. In CST, you know, that would never happen. Yes, you prepare, of course we do, but actually we prepare to discover together. So like in this picture here with just looking at artwork, and it might be that the facilitators never really looked at that piece of art before, not really, and yet here she is, like, really discovering it with the person next to her and asking her opinions about what she believes about the picture or what she thinks about it or her ideas about it. And together they discover and have new ideas, and that's really precious, actually. rather than having sort of prepared questions or prepared comparisons. So implicit learning, for me, and my understanding of it and how I've been using it for the last 10 or 11 years is, you know, how can I get somebody to really understand something without me explaining it in a very sort of patronizing, if you like, way, even if I wasn't, you know, intending to be patronizing. Sometimes it can be, particularly when we're talking to another adult who's had, you know, years and years of life experience. So implicit learning for me is a really special way of doing things. And I'll just give you an example of implicit learning when it comes to reality orientation, which is a part of the session, where I would be wanting the person to understand and become orientated to time and place. So I want them to know by the end of our conversation, I would want them to know what day it is, what month it is, the season, and potentially the year as well, if it feels right for that to happen. For some people, we might not want to use orientation, but generally for those people who come along to cognitive stimulation therapy sessions, they would be people who are experiencing mild to moderate dementia. And actually that reality orientation is an important part of that CST. But I say that, you know, I say that gently because I know that some of you won't have heard of CST before and might be working with people who are more advanced dementia. And we know, don't we, that that's not how we would necessarily be, that would not necessarily be the most important thing to orientate somebody to time and place, particularly if they are happy in the time and place that they were inhabiting. But with mild to moderate dementia and as part of the CST, we would use orientation. And to do that using implicit learning, then I would be looking at having conversations using props around me, and it might be that we have daffodils in the middle of the table. Down in Cornwall, we've got our daffodils are flowering already. So it might be that we have daffodils in the middle of the table, or we might talk about the fact that we've seen daffodils popping their little heads up on the way driving into work, or we might look out of the window and talk about the leaves on the trees and the fact that they're not quite out yet, and I wonder when they will come, just to give people an opportunity to have an understanding of where we are in the season without me saying, what season is it today? Or what season do you think it is? And without being too prescriptive. So we're allowing people to explore. And another thing that I mention a lot is, you know, we can do it into time of day as well, just by saying, oh, I had a lovely breakfast, or I'm still full from my breakfast. Or, oh, do you know what? I forgot to have breakfast and now I feel really hungry because it's nearly lunchtime. You know, so we can pop these things into conversation to help them with learning. And that's just the reality orientation example, but we can do it in the actual main session as well, where we would use implicit learning with a lot of I wonder questions. So I wonder what this is, or I wonder what this would do, or I wonder how we could use this prop. So very much sitting next to and learning together. So I just want you to have a think about how you might use implicit learning and how you might have used it in the past. And I'm just going to just get rid of those so I can otherwise I can't see the chat. So have a little think about what sort of question could you ask somebody, or what sort of comment could you make that would help them to learn implicitly rather than putting them on the spot. Any ideas?
Let's start video. Let me just mute it so that.
Anybody? Any ideas? Are you all thinking? There's no right or wrong answer either. You know,
Anna's put something in the chat, Laura. I wonder what we could do to make this plant look a bit more happy.
Yay! I love it. Yeah, that's a lovely one. You can't go wrong with I wonder questions. You really can't, because that is just you discovering together, isn't it? Brilliant. Thank you, Anna. Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is functioning at maximum capability. And again, this is something that you might not find in your average day centre, as an example. You know, it would just be sort of blanket activities, and you know, you either like them or you don't. With the CST, you know, we really do try as much as possible. We have very small groups, so no more than 8 in a group. 6 is ideal. And to help people function at maximum capability, of course, we have to know who they are and what they enjoy and what they love. And I think, you know, there's a good, I'll take this off again, because what I'd quite like to know is from you is, what are you really good at? Like, tell me one thing that you're really good at in the chat. So it might be, you know, you might be really good at making iced buns, or perhaps you're brilliant at maths. I don't know. People always find it difficult when I ask them what they're really good at. Crafts, brilliant, Anna. Any craft in particular? Jewelry, see, that's amazing. Rock painting, says Abby. Fantastic. Creative music, singing. Yeah, see, I'm really starting to get a feel now of what your things are. Nature, family tree stuff. Yeah, interesting. Great. And then, you know, just from this, I'm eating chocolate, says Rona. Brilliant. Yeah, it's one of my favorites as well. I'm really good at it. Yeah, so, you know, already just by in this chat, we're just starting to get to know each other a bit better, aren't we? And we're starting to understand, you know, what we might engage in. So if I was doing a group for you guys, then I would be thinking, like Abby, let's have a go at rock painting. That sounds amazing. And you start to sort of really understand what people enjoy, but also what they're really good at. So if I knew that Abby was really good at rock painting, then perhaps I'll create a session where we could do rock painting, but I might showcase Abby and say, look, Abby's going to show the group maybe something she's done already, so it doesn't put her under pressure, but really celebrating people's when they are functioning at their maximum capability. Melanie's good at cooking. So Jana is good at gardening. Fantastic. Yeah, and just how, when we know the individuals in the group, we can bring those things in. And also, you know, I've had people in my group before who've been really good at maths and numbers. So if we're playing a physical games game and we have to add up the scores, then, you know, it would be right, wouldn't it, that I use the person who's really good at maths. And the same when we're doing spelling. You know, my spelling's atrocious. It's great when we're really bad at stuff, actually, because we can then, you know, the people with dementia can help us, and it's genuine. We're not making it up. You know, I really am not brilliant at spelling, so it would be very funny in the group, you know, to have a bit of a joke and a laugh, but particularly when they came up with really long words that I had to spell on the board, and then they all have a really good laugh and they watch me trying to spell it. But I have an opportunity then to say, could anybody spell it for me? And it gives that person who is really good at that an opportunity to have a go. It's not the same as putting people on the spot. You're not saying, right, Julia, I want you to spell this word, but actually just saying to them, could anybody help me spell this? Which is very gentle and it's very different. Anna's asked a question: how would you go about inviting or encouraging that person who is good at the activity to share their skills? Yeah, really good question. So it does take a little bit of encouragement, particularly in a new group. I mean, I don't think any of us would be sort of jumping forward to show our skills really quickly with a group that we didn't know. So I think there's an element of allowing the group to get to know each other first before we did that. But then, you know, taking them aside and saying, you know, I've heard that you're really good at photography. I'm wondering if we could have a go at doing some photography, and that you might share some of your skills with the group. And of course, no pressure. They don't have to. So nobody should ever feel pressured within the group. But yeah, and it comes down to personality as well. And you know, I was saying about when we make mistakes, that actually that really helps, because we're just shown as we are. We do make mistakes. We're humans. So I don't have any problem with not doing something brilliantly within a group, because it gives other people an opportunity to show me. And I think that's the key thing, is if you show up in your group like that, then others are more likely to have a go, because they know that other people make mistakes too. It's all part of it, you know. And I like the idea of us all being clumsy together and working it all out. I don't think CST groups are a place for perfectionism. I really don't. I mean, I tend to think that about life as well. You probably, if you've been to more of my workshops, you'll know they're not perfect either. I don't think we learn very much when everything is totally perfect. And we learn more when we can make mistakes and share with each other and learn from each other. I learn so much more. I think all of us learn so much more in workshops when maybe I don't have the right word or the right answer, but there's somebody in the audience who does, because I know that everyone who comes to these are skilled and they have knowledge. And I feel the same about the CST groups. We've got all these people with a lifetime of knowledge in front of us who can share things. So it shouldn't really be me sharing everything all of the time, but that we, you know, that we share with each other. And then, okay, so and then the third thing that kind of stands CST out that's different from other provisions is this idea of opinions and not facts here. So number 3. And it's one that I'm so incredibly passionate about, that I'm very close to even making this a whole thing on its own. But when we rely on facts all the time, we actually stop a lot of conversations. And I'll say this, you know, it's not just people with dementia, but anybody with neurodiversity or anybody who has any memory difficulties, that we are not encouraging conversation to go anywhere but a dead end. And I think if you are faced with a question that you could only answer if you had a good memory, then you're faced with either lying and saying, making up an answer, or the next thing that you would do is having to admit that your memory isn't great, and maybe you feel a bit vulnerable. Maybe you don't want to tell people that your memory isn't great. And then finally, the other option that we have is to either distract or react, get angry, or walk away or be rude or whatever, because it's a way of saving face when faced with a question that you can't answer. And it can be the most simplest of questions. And I think it would be really good to workshop this a little bit. So maybe write down a question that you might ask somebody when you first meet them. Now, don't try and get this correct at all. I just want you to say a question that you might ask somebody when you first meet them, or at a networking event or anywhere. You've just met somebody. What's the first sort of question that you ask? Put dementia aside at the moment. Just think about, or maybe you've bumped into your neighbour. I want to hear some of your small talk. What do you do? Yeah, brilliant. Don't we say that all the time? What do you do? Yeah. What job do you do? Ask about the family, the children, etc. Yeah. What do I call you? Yeah. Yeah. Where are you off to? What are you up to today? Yeah. What do you like doing? Where did you get those earrings? Yes. These are all really good conversation starters. Where do you come from? Yeah. And these are just natural conversation starters that we don't even think about. They just come into our mind. You know, what did you do this weekend is another one. Shania will know that this is never a good question for me because I always forget. What did you do? I don't know. I can't remember. I've had Monday and Tuesday now. Do you come here often? Rough weather. That's good, Anna. That's a good one actually, because that one doesn't require a memory. So you'll see, and this is my point, is that, and this isn't wrong at all, but the way that we are brought up to have conversations is to throw out these questions that require memory. What do you do? Well, I have to remember what I do. Or what's my job title? What do I call you? I think that one is. And, you know, hopefully we might remember our name. but not always if we're a bit stressed. Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? Have you ever been so stressed that you can't remember anything? I've been on the phone before and people have asked me my postcode and I can't remember what my postcode is. We've all been there. We've all sort of understood what it might feel like not to be able to access the information that the person in front of you really wants to know. And of course, actually, it's not that important. We're just trying to have a conversation. Asking about their family and their children, yet again, requires memory. This one's great from Abby. Where are you off to? Because that requires not only memory, but also forward planning. Where am I going? And then remembering what you've planned as well. And we all just do this. We all just talk like this all the time. Abby says, it's embarrassing when someone says hello, but you don't recall how you know them. Yes, happens to me a lot. Yeah, I know that, Abby. Yeah, so you can see from all of those questions that you've created there that memory is required in answering them. So what I'm going to do now, and Shania, are you ready for? Yes, she's good.
I'm ready.
Fantastic. Of course you are. You're always ready. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put you into pairs in breakout rooms, and I want you to try having a conversation which does not require memory. So I want you to think of some questions that you could ask that do not require you to remember anything. Okay, so I'm going to give you that challenge. I'm not going to give you anything else but that challenge, okay? So Shania will put you into your rooms. If you end up with somebody who doesn't appear to be there, it happens sometimes because people can leave their screen off and then go and make a cup of tea, then do jump back into the main room and we'll put you with somebody who is definitely there.
We've got a couple of threes as well. So
Fantastic.
I
Thank
will
you.
open your rooms.
Let everybody know what they're doing. You're coming up with questions that don't require memory to answer. Good luck. They're obviously talking lots, otherwise they would have jumped back in really quickly. That's a good sign. Here they are.
14 seconds.
Play the countdown music.
3, 2, 1.
Amazing. There are lots of people. Oh no, they're coming now. I thought lots of people had dived off and disappeared.
Yeah, we're back.
Hello. Lovely to see you. Oh, we've got a bit of echo again. Shania, you on it? Brilliant. Thank you. So lovely to have you back. I hope that wasn't very long, but I hope you had an opportunity to have a little go. So we've got Anna says, we struggled a bit. We were saying you need props and objects to talk about the here and now. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a key thing. Anything that's in the room that you can talk about, you can say photographs, pictures, colours, things people are wearing. These are all really good things, like you said, to keep to the here and now. So, conversations about, I really love your top, not necessarily I love your top, where did you get it from, which is kind of what we're programmed to say, isn't it? But rather, I really love that top, it's a really lovely color. I really like blue. Do you have any other colors that really suit you or something? But yeah, staying in the moment, what do you think of this? I wonder what that would be like, or I wonder what else you could do with this. So you're absolutely right. Props really do help. So Abby says, we placed importance on asking people's opinions on things to make them feel valued. Yeah. What do you think about my hair? I had it done yesterday. Absolutely brilliant. And by the way, I love your hair, Abby. I was just thinking how amazing it looked. But yeah, absolutely. It's whenever we can use things in the room, items or things that we can talk about right there and then, that's brilliant. You know, sometimes you can watch maybe a little film clip, or read a poem, or, you know, something, and then we talk about that very thing right here and now, rather than constantly asking people questions that rely on memory. So it's something that we practice and we get better and better at. And certainly, you know, Abby's been doing CST for a while now, and you just get into the groove of having those types of conversations. You remember to avoid those questions that that we often have, and it's got to such a point now that that is how I do conversations with anybody now, is around the here and now. I tend not to sort of ask questions that people could anybody could feel like they're on the spot with. Yeah, so that is one of the main differences, I suppose, of CST to other provisions that we might have. So I'm going to share my screen again. I can't believe how quickly the time is rushing on today. It always does. I always think it's a long time, but it isn't. So the other thing is the structure of CST. So there's 3 elements. The opening, which is, you know, usually about 10 probably 10 minutes, where you do the reality orientation. So you have a board like this. Obviously, this isn't an RA board necessarily here. This is an A to Z, but on there, you would have the name of the place that you're meeting. You would have the name of the group. The group always name themselves as well. So they have a group name, which you would write on the board. And then the date and the address at where you're at. And you would talk about that again, not putting people on the spot to say, what day is it today, Marjorie? So you can write it on the board, but rather, you know, today is, and then I might start writing Tuesday. So I might write the T and the U, and then kind of, you know, I'm saying it out loud so that they can join in, and then fill in the blanks, really. The group song is always sung as well. And the group will choose their song on their first session. Sometimes it takes a bit longer than that, and that becomes their theme song, which I've never not known the group song to go down well. Once I think there was a song that was chosen that nobody really liked and it got changed, but other than that, it seems to be, you know, a great way of bonding. And then we would do the word warm-up, which is usually done with a softball, which we would throw around the group, and we would ask them to name something in a category. So you would throw the ball and you would say things you would find in a shed, and then the person would catch the ball and they would say something from the shed and then throw it on to somebody else. And the idea is to keep the ball moving. But again, you know, that people are not put on the spot. So it's okay, they can just throw the ball if they don't want to say anything. But we find that over time, people get more and more used to the idea of the word warm-up, and they also anecdotally get a lot faster at it as well as time goes on. And then finally, the news and views. So this is sort of looking at a good news story. Generally we use all the time, in fact, because we've got enough rubbish news going on, that this is a lovely time to find a good piece of news to share and to talk about, and of course to talk about our opinions about it. What do you think about this? And then the main topic. So this is the original trial. They used 14 topics, and there's many more topics now. If you want to, we'd be happy afterwards to sort of send you the links to the books that are available. But there are 2, and one is Making a Difference 1, and the other one is Making a Difference 2. Making a Difference 2 is the maintenance session, so there's even more sessions within that one than the original 14 that went through the trials. But this gives you an idea of what the main topics are in CST. Obviously, I don't have time to go into each one now, but there are many things that we can do in all of those sessions, and we have hundreds and hundreds of different sessions that we've written over the years. Some of them are pretty good. And then finally is the ending, and again, so it's very structured. It starts in the same way every time, so people can be very clear about what's going to be happening next, and then with the main topic, and then we end in the same way as well. So with a bit of a summary, we seek feedback, because it's not prescriptive. It's really good to have information from group members where they get to tell you what they enjoy, and how perhaps you could, when you're planning, you can weave that in to make a good session. We sing the group song again as well. It feels like a theme tune. Very often, if you've just got a short group going and the carers are here to pick them up, this is their moment to know that the session has ended. And then the goodbyes. So I did want to talk about outcomes a little bit, and the outcomes that you could expect from running a CST group. And you may or may not know that CST was put through randomized controlled trials, or TIRLs, as it says on my slide. There's a good spot. And these were some of the outcomes. So improved cognition. So what they found is that people's cognition improved, and particularly their language and comprehension improved greatly. And it kind of makes sense, because actually CST is all about having conversations and creating conversations. Conversations really are the main topic of CST, with some props thrown in as well. Improved quality of life. So we found that people had an improved quality of life. I do apologize for my spelling on this. I was doing this on a tiny little screen without my glasses on, and now I see it's big and see my mistakes. And then finally, improved mood. So research is showing improvements in mood, confidence, and concentration. And that's from the trial. There've been a few trials, but this one in particular was looking at the effects for carers and people living with dementia, and that's one of the quotes from that research. One of the themes was that people were more fluent, and that was also backed up with the other trial that showed that was in fact the case, that people's language skills got better. And some more outcomes from our own our last 6 years of providing sessions for people living with dementia in Cornwall, that we also measured loneliness and found that 70% of beneficiaries became less lonely, and 96% of beneficiaries made new friends. So not only were they just coming along to a group, but actually they really felt that people were their friends, and that friendship occurred outside of the groups as well as inside. So less isolation, 66% reported feeling less dependent, and 69% took part in new activities in their community, which is a great outcome actually, because not only did they come along to our groups, but of course they felt confident enough to go to other groups. And that was part of our provision, is providing people with information about what's in their area that they might want to get involved in, because we know that this is more important than anything, is stopping this social isolation. Right, I'm just going to catch up very quickly on what you've written in here. Anna said she'd like to receive by email any further resources or recommendations, publications about CST to go a little deeper. Yeah, absolutely, Anna. If you if you put your email address in the chat, or send it straight, you can, to Shania. So you can see down below where it says to everyone, if you put to Shania and then pop your email address in there, she will be able to send you some bits and pieces. Oh, I can see that you already answered, Shania.
I'm on it.
Bonnet, it's like a car bonnet. Brilliant. Okay, so that kind of just, we've got time and everything, which is good. Usually I'm incredibly rushed at the end. But one of the things that I did want to mention is the fact that we do training in CST, of course. It is our bread and butter. It's what we do all day long. And I feel very, very passionately about sharing what we know so that other people can do it too. And like I said to you at the beginning, we're so passionate about people within communities providing this stuff, because it isn't going to be provided across the board by the NHS. Some places are lucky and they do have 14 sessions, but then after the 14 sessions there's nothing. So we do need people who are doing maintenance sessions. We need people all over the place who are catching people with dementia and really decreasing this isolation, and more now, more than ever really. So some of the things that we can offer is we do CST training, which is online, and next week, is it next week, Shania, that I'm doing a live one?
It's next Thursday, the 27th of January.
Brilliant. So that's a full day of training that I'll be providing. It'll be me, and I love it. I love spending a whole day digging deeper, like doing lots of activities and getting you really clear on what you need to do so that you can go off and do this stuff. and I'll give you everything that you need. So that's next week. So if you're interested in that, again, get hold of Shania. I'm sure you'll have
The
a
link in the chat.
Link in the chat. And also we'll do a follow-up email as well. But yeah, I'd love to see more faces on there. That would be amazing. It's I've done a few now live on Zoom, and they work really well. I was a little bit unsure, to be honest, to start with. I used to obviously travel around the country doing this, and since COVID, I haven't been able to do that. And we do have online training that is recorded, which is great, and we get really good feedback for it. But there's nothing like being live and being able to question me, and you know, we can find the answers together. So yeah, so that's next week. And also starting, is it next week as well as the fellowship?
Yes, on Monday.
You can see that Shania is my brains. Yeah, so next week we start the fellowship, and the fellowship is where we take people through a really intensive 6-month program where we teach you everything you could possibly know and help you, particularly if you are wanting to start out on your own, providing CST as a sole trader. We can give you business support to do that, and essentially we tell you everything that we did when we started up Memory Matters, because we just want more and more people to do this. And we, as you can see, we've gone from strength to strength over the last 11 years, and we want to see more small little organizations that are local, that know their local people, who are able to do that. So that's what the fellowship's all about. And we're looking for people, they're special people who want to go forward and do great things for people living with dementia. And we're in the middle of a fellowship at the moment. We've got 4 amazing individuals who have been going great guns through the program and are really enjoying it. And we can have you speak to one of our fellows if you would like to, so that you can hear about what that's like, because it's the first time we did it last time, it'll be second time this time, and it's only improving with time, like a good wine.
We've got 2 places left.
2 places. Brilliant. So yeah, so that is us, and that's Memory Matters. And anything you want from us, just get in contact with us and we'll help you in any way we possibly can. We try to put on workshops about every 6 weeks. And so yeah, if you've got any ideas about what you'd like us to cover in more detail, I'll be delighted. You know, you can see that it's such a vast thing, but we can really sort of hone down into one area if you'd like us to. So do give us some feedback, and that's how we see it, as these free workshops are for anybody and everybody, and if we can help you, we will. So that's that. Shania's just put a link in for a call with her, so which I would highly recommend.
About anything, I don't mind.
So you could even practice your questions, or your non questions, and see how Shania gets on. So yeah, feel free to do that too. But yeah, it's been lovely seeing you all, and I love this from Abby. CST rocks. It is enjoyable for everyone involved. It really is, isn't it? It's not just people with dementia actually, but all of our facilitators absolutely love it. Shania facilitates on a Wednesday, is it, Shania?
Yes, and that's online, and that's even brilliant online. So yeah, brilliant. Best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, it's
Can I just say thank you, Laura? I haven't been able to send any messages, but I've really enjoyed it. I'm Josie from Mullion. But
oh, hi Josie from Mullion.
2 of our volunteers have LinkedIn, Amy and Audrey.
Oh,
fantastic. Lovely. Yeah, it's lovely to have you here. Thank you. Good, and I'm glad it was a reminder for those of you that know all about CST already. Lovely. Okay, well, we'll take your comments. What we'll do is we'll save this chat. We'll take your comments and we can take those forward. Oh, I guess the other thing to mention, Shania, is the CST group, if you're not in it already on Facebook. So I think most of you are, but those of you that I don't know, maybe you don't know about it. And then we've got a CST Facebook group, which we share a lot of things in there. We also have an associate called Simon, who's amazing, and he does lots of free sessions and things that you can download, which is great. So yeah, so Shania's put the link in there, so do get onto that if you're on Facebook. And that's it.
Laura, can you redo this recording tomorrow for some of our people that couldn't attend this evening?
Yes, I will be sending it out tomorrow, Josie. So I think I've got your email address, so I'll send it across the recording.
Thank you.
No worries.
Glad you found it useful and that you want to share it. That's a good sign. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you, everybody. Heart to you too, Anna. Bye-bye.